Greetings from a fishing village on the Atlantic coast. You've tuned in to podcast Portwenn, celebrating the world of Doc Martin unofficially. I'm Chesla Wexler, and we'll be discussing Doc Martin, the medicine, the mayhem, and the marvelous people of Portwenn. Podcast Portwenn is an independent fan production, not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by Buffalo Pictures, ITV, Fox, or the creators of Doc Martin or Best Medicine. Welcome back to Judy, our newbie viewer who's up to Season 7, the Dr. Timoney season. Good to see you again. Long time no see. We just did our Best Medicine Episode 1 last night, so come through and welcome back to Podcast Portwenn.
Thank you for having me. You've created a monster here. I'm addicted to this show.
You know, I have a friend to whom I referred the show as well, and her husband texted me and said, like, I thought you were my friend. We have to have a second TV now because otherwise I don't get to watch anything. And he was kidding. He enjoys it too, so he was watching.
Yeah, even my husband has been tuning in from time to time and finds Doc Martin humorous. And I joke with him. I'm like, I think you're a little like Doc Martin.
Oh, how do you like that? What's his reaction to that?
He admits it. He admits it.
I see some Doc Martin in my husband, and I see a lot of Doc Martin in me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's why I identify with this show so much. So what did you think of 7? I mean, when we left 6, right, we weren't quite sure what was going to happen. He just walked out of that hospital and didn't know.
Yeah. I kind of was thinking that they'd see a little bit of each other over the course of the summer, and you find out that they barely spoke in a course of 3 weeks or more. But at least at one point they said, Aunt Ruth asked him, am I to presume you haven't spoke to your wife in 3 weeks? Yeah. And then the first episode, when she didn't make her arrival, I was like, ooh, what's happening here? I guess episode 1, it was still summertime and she was still in Spain. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess I thought they would start the series with her return. So I was a little surprised to not see her. And then I got thinking, oh boy, is this it?
I wondered what you were thinking, yeah.
Yeah, is the story going to twist and he is actually going to go to England and rekindle the relationship with his colleague? But it was good. It was good to see her come back.
Yes, even
Yeah.
unannounced.
Even unannounced, and it was definitely tension-filled. And it was interesting how things progressed, and the fact that he was willing to take that step to see a therapist regarding their relationship. So that was great. I was happy to see that. I was very surprised at Louisa's reluctance to participate initially in the therapy, and her initial attitude about fixing Martin's problems.
It was all his fault, right?
Yeah, all his fault. I was kind of surprised. That just didn't seem like Louisa,
Okay.
But I think things have been so awkward and tense with them that I guess nobody ever wants to admit that they could be part of a problem,
I thought we got a little odd hint when she first comes home, when she brings him a chorizo.
Right. And he was just like, oh, this is filled with
But, like, why would she bring him a chorizo? Does she not know him at all?
Well, I think it was just her way to, and I think they touch on this later in the season, that it was her way of trying to get him to be open to things that are outside of his norm. And it's definitely a huge food item in Spain. So, and I think they touch on this later, in that she was trying to get him to be normal. And I think towards the end of the season, she realizes that that's her part of the problem. So I think when she brings that chorizo, you get a hint of her trying to introduce him to something that's out of his norm, his comfort zone, and try to get him to participate in something that's the norm in Spain and to be normal. But later on in the season, they talk about her maybe always trying to make things be normal, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And how that is probably her role in the problems that they may have been experiencing.
Yeah. So she's trying to change him to be normal.
Towards the end of the season, I think there was the episode with the art teacher's daughter and, the art teacher constantly trying to make her daughter different from everybody else and how I think that struck a nerve with Martin when the daughter was like, I don't want to be different. I want to have friends. And I think that struck a nerve with Martin. And then it's obvious that some of the characters in Portwenn are very quirky and different. And that last episode where I think Louisa finally admits it was an unusual situation they found themselves in, and she said, "I guess we're all a little bit unusual."
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I've made a huge mistake. She's like, why do I think everything has to be normal? And always thought that was an interesting ending because in season 2, I think, when we have the drunken discussion at the end of the season where he ends up passing out at the end,
Right,
um, she basically what he always is, he's a stick of rock. He's always the same. He's Martin Ellingham. He's what it says on the tin. So in essence, she saw what he was this whole time. I mean, he's not pretending at all. This is who he is.
right, and she
But
kinda says that to Janice, the babysitter, when she's like, I know Martin, he wouldn't do this. He wouldn't just not show up. I know him."
yes.
And the fact that she, at the end, says, "You're the only person who's never let me down."
Uh-huh.
And so maybe that is part of who his as well, right? He's rock solid in his beliefs and convictions, and what you see is what you get.
Yes.
So there is
Yes.
no surprises.
Yeah. I mean, if you didn't like it, why did you marry it?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know?
Um, I'm sure it's an uncomfortable thing when you have a partner who is very socially awkward. So either you accept it or you don't.
Uh-huh.
And I think for a while there, she was kind of fighting against it, despite marrying him. I mean, even their own interactions were awkward when they were given homework from the therapist to have physical contact each day and give a compliment. It was just so awkward.
Yeah. And I kind of thought, I mean, who do you think did better on that?
Well, I don't know. Haven't thought about that. It just seemed very awkward. And once Martin got into it, I felt like though he didn't kind of go with the flow. Like, oh, I'd like to release you, but my watch is stuck to your sweater. I think they were both awkward.
He's awkward, obviously, because he he was just doing it because it was homework, because he's not a touchy-feely guy. But I was of the opinion that, like, he was the one who would initiate the doing of it, and he hugged her and gave her a compliment, and then she just said something like, "Boy, you're really dedicated to this, aren't you?" And he was like,
Yeah,
"It's your
yeah,
turn to give the affirmation," and she's like, "I did."
right,
And
right.
I kinda felt like, well, I don't think that's what Dr. Timoney had in mind. I thought you would
Yeah,
say
that was
s
pretty weak. It was pretty weak on her part.
and then I guess she hugs him outside of Peter Cronk's mother's house, and that seemed to me more spontaneous. That
Yes.
and he even asked that, like, "Is this part of homework, or did you just do that spontaneously?" And she never answers the question.
Yeah.
But then her ring gets stuck in him, right? Doesn't her ring sorta get stuck somewhere?
It happens. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think she was so, he showed a moment of understanding or grace towards Peter that he initially had absolutely no intention of providing. He was going to turn this situation into the police and this and that, and then he finally came around,
Yeah.
and that I think was a pivotal moment actually
Mhm.
for him to show that compassion.
And he did it quickly at her request.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. Something he would typically never do. I mean, what was going on was pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, diagnosing your mother and buying
Buying
prescription
your
drugs
neighbor's
off of a guy.
medication?
Yeah. Not good.
No, not good at all.
Not good at all.
But the fact that he took into consideration what she suggested and changed his tune a bit, I think softened her up a bit
Mhm.
and maybe showed her a side of him that he hasn't been showing.
It dovetailed nicely with the end of season 5 when Martin is talking to Mrs. Tischel in the castle and he has two people who are offering their opinions on what he ought to do, and he takes Louisa's opinion on how to talk to Mrs. Tischel over Ruth's.
Right.
So it's
Right.
sort of
Right. Right.
it's an extension of a pattern of he does listen to her and try to change what he's doing in order to make her happy.
I almost had to, though, say if I think it was episode 5 of this season when is it episode 5? When Martin wants the dog euthanized and he's like, "Well, if someone else won't do it, I'll do it." And
Yeah.
I think my heart was racing and I was thinking, I won't watch this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. We were yelling at the television set, "No, no, you can't
Yeah.
kill Buddy."
You can't do this. You can't do this. How could you possibly do this? Yeah, that was, and I don't know. Do you think he would have gone through with it? I don't know. Had Louisa
He
not
sure looked
rushed
like he
him?
was poised, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he did not want that dog.
Yeah, I think it would have finished the show for me.
Yeah. Well, it gave them the opportunity to introduce Angela Sim, who is Dr. Sim's daughter, the veterinarian, who is played by Caroline Quentin, who plays
Okay.
Dorothy to Martin's Gary on Men Behaving Badly, and they're boyfriend and girlfriend in that show.
Well, how about that?
And apparently they're like best buds in real life, so this was a very fun time for the two of them to be able to act together decades
Oh,
later in
okay.
another show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved her character. I mean, even though she was self-medicating and I loved her conviction. I loved her giving it right back to Doc Martin. I really did.
Hmm.
And I loved also in this season seeing Morwenna blossom.
Hmm.
In episode 1, she really showed her capability when she put the breathing tube in, is his name Barnes? No.
No, I forget
Anyway,
his
the guy
name.
that on the rescue boat, the
The
guy.
Moonray. Yes, the Moonray lifeboat guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when she gets the book about being more assertive, she really asked for and got a raise, and she
Hmm.
really has quite the help. And I'm enjoying seeing her and Al's relationship kind of slowly blossom.
I enjoyed, Al goes on the radio and it's like your girlfriend. And it's like,
Yeah.
she's not my girlfriend. Ruth's not my girlfriend. And then Morwenna has the same thing with Ruth or somebody, I forget, somebody tells, oh yeah, Ruth tells Morwenna something like, I thought you two were involved. Like, we're not. So everybody's
Right.
seeing it, right? And then finally
Right. Yes.
Morwenna's like, when are you going to ask me out, Al Large?
Right. 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 And it was nice too for Penhale. He's such a wacky guy to finally have a breakthrough with a gal
Hmm.
in Janet.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
I thought
I
go ahead.
I didn't, I kinda thought we'd see Bert have a little bit of a relationship at the end of last season, and that just poor Bert.
Poor Bert.
Poor Bert, but I loved how in this season he's found his calling,
Yeah.
and it's kinda nice that both he and Ruth in the stage of their lives are gonna be in this project kinda together.
Hmm. Yeah. I enjoyed Ruth in this season. I think so you see more of the spine that I think you felt might have been missing previously.
Yeah, I really do like Ruth's character, although I do feel like as the season progressed, well, she was diagnosed with that arteritis, which
Yeah,
I'd never heard of.
I'd never heard of that either.
And there were moments where the camera zoomed in on her as she's walking, and she looked awfully slow and tired,
Hmm.
more so when she first arrived. So I hope that's not a sign of things to come. But I really enjoy her relationship with Al and
Hmm.
Bert, and this new venture that they're doing. And she's funny. I like her.
I like
She's
her.
very
I know
dry wit.
you said she's got some funny lines, and I wrote one down that just killed me when Bert is walking away from the restaurant that he's just completely abandoning, and he's got his suitcase, and Ruth's like, "Nice suitcase. One of my patients used to carry his wife around in one." Well, parts of her.
Parts of her, yeah, yeah, yeah. She's funny.
Yeah.
She's so dry. It's
And
it's
Eileen
great.
Atkins just can deliver those lines so well.
Yeah, she's great. She's really great. I was surprised about, I want to say it was episode 6, the jealousy though that came out. Although with with Louisa and Martin. You know, when he sees Dr. Timoney and he has a journal for her, a
Hmm.
journal article he saved, and she's like, "Oh, well, are you going to read more articles?" And say,
Yeah.
so just she was seemed a little jealous of that.
Hmm.
And then Danny shows up again, and he's immediately, "What's he doing here?" and jealous. And I will say, I think Louisa shared a little too much of personal information with Danny, and I could totally appreciate why Martin was annoyed at that.
Especially with your old boyfriend. It's like,
Yeah.
if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to share it with anybody, he's probably not the one to talk
Not the
to.
one. Exactly, exactly. So, they definitely had that moment where obviously they still have feelings or they wouldn't care one way or the other about the jealousy part. But, Danny really was trying hard though, wasn't he?
Oh, he was ready to just say, this is, kismet, and this was
Mhm.
supposed to happen, and sometimes you just have to move on, and yeah, he was definitely angling there.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's so lame.
And then Clive coming back
Yes.
and Mrs. Tishel deciding that she's so funny though how she still goes up to Martin to tell him she's gonna give it a go with Clive, but she's like,
Yes.
"Sometimes we have connections that we just," and he's like, "Are you self-medicating again?"
Yes. Yes. We're soulmates, but just not in this universe or something.
Yes, yes. She's
And I
crazy.
like how Mrs. Tishel, she's cooking for Martin this whole time. She has not given up on him. And she feels a kindredness with him, that
Right.
he's been abandoned and she's been abandoned. Because when Clive comes back, you understand that he just was like, what the hell just happened? My wife seems to have this complete attachment to this doctor. So you had asked in last season, like, is he off caravanning? He went back to work and he didn't write to her. He didn't come visit her.
Yeah, yeah, he
But
just totally, kinda left
yeah,
her. And I could see where that would be upsetting to her too.
sure.
But with the shrine she had built to Martin, it probably felt almost like a cheating was going on,
Yeah.
even though
And
nothing happened.
and that shrine was there. Clive, I'm sure, saw it. It was right there.
Yeah,
And she
yeah.
says it wasn't my fault, which I agree. The kidnapping of James was not her fault because she was already in this medication mode, but it was certainly, as you had pointed out in a prior podcast, she should know better about mixing medicines and self-medicating and that kind of stuff. I mean, who
Mhm.
prescribed
Yep.
what she was taking?
Yeah, and when the abuse of the medication started for her, but she was batting her eyelashes at Martin almost from the day he arrived,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I don't think there was any medication involved in that.
no, I don't think so either. I think her going off the deep end, yes,
Yes.
but she definitely had something for him, and was by herself, and I got maybe lonely, but so I could see where Clive would be put off by
Mhm.
that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And it seemed like, Mrs. Tishel might have been, like, hospitalized for quite a time, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, they had gotten, the substitute pharmacist that started dating Bert. I can't remember her name, Peggy? No.
Jennifer.
Jennifer. And then even once Mrs. Tishel came back, she had to be cleared before she could practice, yeah, so, I mean, it was a pretty big thing, and I'm sure she violated some sort of rules and regulations for her profession,
Right.
mixing drugs and yeah.
Yeah. And then Clive self-medicates,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Gives himself a
Yeah.
heart attack.
A lot of self-medicating going on in this
Yeah.
town, right? People
Yeah.
buying drugs off the neighbor saying he's got a problem to get a prescription.
There's another Martin Clune series called Out There that it's a 6-show, 1-season show. It didn't get renewed, and we haven't received it here yet in the US, but it has to do with the illegal drug trade out in the more rural counties of England. So maybe drugs are a big problem out there. I actually think they are. It's called, like, county lines or something, and it's how they move drugs using basically people they just trick into the trade.
Huh,
But so
interesting.
yeah, I mean, seem to see not necessarily illegal drugs in Portwenn, but we see misuse of prescription drugs.
Right, yeah, maybe it's not as, unusual as it seems kinda crazy, but maybe it's not that unusual, I don't
Right.
know.
Yep.
Particularly if maybe some of the areas it's hard to get into a doctor, so maybe there is some sharing of prescriptions.
Could be. Yeah, it's season 7 is the Sigourney Weaver season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just there briefly, I guess, visiting, trying to find her ancestors or whatever, and then what does she have, glaucoma? No. She need eye drops.
She needed some eye drops, but it ends up that it wasn't like she shouldn't have been using whatever it was that her doctor had prescribed because it was giving her like a cough or something.
Okay.
And so he
Yeah.
prescribed something different.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she'll make another appearance or if that was just kind of a cameo type of thing, and she's the one who says to Morwenna, like, "You let him talk to you like that?" and then gives her the book,
Right.
and it's kinda transformative for Morwenna.
Yes.
So,
And I know that
yeah.
she's a very good friend of Selena Cadell, who's Mrs. Tischel.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, and she really liked Doc Martin, and she was on one of these interview shows, like a morning show or a nighttime show with Martin Clunes one time, and made a comment how much she liked the show. So they were like, "Well, maybe we could get you to come in and have a little guest spot."
Yeah, yeah. That was fun.
Beth Trawick, I thought that was fun. With respect to the overarching theme of the season is the therapy and working on the marriage. It said that Martin seemed to be, before Louisa even arrives home, he's already talking to Ruth about
Mhm.
finding a therapist, and then
Finding
she gives
someone,
him
yeah.
doctors. So I was just wondering what your impression is on the degree to which the two of them were working on things.
I think that Martin was more, invested in it, and maybe because he thinks he does think that it was mostly him who was the problem, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I do think he thinks Louisa's wonderful and perfect and probably would never suggest that she had any role in making things a problem.
Hmm.
But I do think as we go along, the doctor points out some things about Louisa's upbringing that could play a part in how she views things
Hmm.
or reacts to things. But I definitely think that, again, as I said, I think that initially Louisa didn't even want to do the couples part. And when she did start, it was, no, well, when are we going to work on Martin's problems?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he himself felt that it wasn't a two-way street, that it was just him.
I mean, when he walks in, right, his very first meeting with her, he just says, I was an unwanted child. I didn't develop normal a relationship with adults. I therefore have an attachment disorder, and it's my fault.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he is in there just he's clearly looked into what's going on with himself and wants to change and believes it's all his fault. And there are times when you just feel like he doesn't care about being happy, but he wants Louisa to be happy,
Yes, exactly.
and he
Yes. Because
misses her.
I don't know that it takes much to make him happy. I just know it made him unhappy to not be with her.
Yes.
But I don't think it takes much to it almost doesn't even seem like James makes him too happy.
Yeah. He doesn't he seems to just not he's got very little willingness to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
And Lisa Verney, our resident psychotherapist, I don't know if you listened to any of those, but the season 7 one might be interesting if you haven't listened to the others. I just released it this morning. Um,
Okay.
yeah, she just said how incredibly vulnerable he is when he comes into Dr. Timoney, and he's just like, "This is what is I was an unwanted child."
Right.
How hard it must be to like you heard it from your mother,
Right.
but to now actually have to explain that to someone and then
Yeah, I guess if you've never felt loved, how do you display love? How do you show love?
yeah, yeah.
And then I think Aunt Joan probably could have provided that, but then that relationship was cut short by his father who thought she was a bad influence. So,
His cheating father who thought,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I felt like there was a moment where they both sort of gave up. And then he became very, matter of fact, businesslike. Well, I think we should have a meeting to talk about what we do. And here's an agenda for the meeting. And that was kind of disappointing it was end of episode 7, I think.
I think it was episode 7, yeah.
If they leave Dr. Chimney's office where she's like, I have a special activity for you two to do. And turned out it was nothing. And they were kind of I think they were kinda hoping there was some magical thing,
Mhm.
and it didn't come to anything, and they get out of the car, and he's like, "I can't live like this anymore." So they plan to have dinner, and that was I didn't know where that was going. That
Mhm.
kinda I was surprised. He definitely seemed vulnerable there.
Yeah.
You know,
It was
he was
when they came out of Dr. Timoney's office after she told them, "I want you to make a list of the advantages of being apart."
yeah,
Louisa leapt to, "Is she telling us that we need to be divorced?" And Martin was like, "No, she told us we need to make this list,
a list. Just
and we
make a
need to
list.
see the process through." So, I don't think he was ready to go there yet. He thought, "Okay, we have another tool. We're supposed to make this list." And you could tell that when he asks her later, "Is it a prioritized list?" He
Right,
wants to do it right. He wants to,
right, yes.
make sure that he's being thorough. And then neither one of them can come up with a list, but I get the sense, given when Dr. Timoney says, "What is it you want from this?" And his answer is, "I want to be with Louisa. I miss her."
Mhm.
And Dr. Timoney, I don't know if you noticed, but Louisa never answers the question, and Dr. Timoney doesn't press her on it.
You're right, yeah. Yeah. I almost feel like when Martin didn't show up for the dinner and she was talking to Janice and saying, "Oh, I know Martin, he would do this to me," that maybe that was almost a moment of realization to, yeah, like, no, he's always there for me. He never wouldn't be true to his word and maybe that's what she wants. Maybe
Maybe,
she
yeah.
realized that's what she wants.
I
I don't
thought
know.
Dr. Timoney's exercise for them, Martin explains away his issue to people with the blood phobia, and he's consistent with it all the time. It's, "I recognize them as people rather than bodies." Like, I had this realization that they were human beings and not just bodies to operate on. And Dr. Timoney's like, "No, it was not being in control." And I wonder who's right, because he certainly would know how he'd been up to this point, right? And then he knew what happened at that event, and like doctor, I forget his name, but the previous doctor that he dealt with, who gave him the CD that desensitized him, also said, "You feel like you're not in control." So everybody's giving him this "you're not in control" mantra. And then they have the assignment of Louisa's going to be completely in charge.
Right.
But Dr. Timoney tells Louisa, "Do you
Don't
give
give in.
him things to do that you know he'll fail at?"
Right.
And your reaction to that stuff is you run away as soon as there's a conflict. And I thought that that was a really interesting scene where she goes to his house for the picnic. First of all, she kids him about what she's going to
Right.
do,
Yeah.
which was,
She's throwing a party with 30 people and he has to make a speech.
yeah, I mean, that was kind of mean.
Yeah. Well,
She knows him,
that
right?
would definitely be setting somebody up for failure, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you picnic and he's got his own food, but he leaves it behind. And then they have the argument about it, and she's like, "Well, fine, this is, never mind." And he points out, "And this is what Dr. Timoney
That
said that you
he
do."
said not to do. Right. Yes.
And I was glad he stuck up for himself.
Mhm. Mhm. But yeah, at the same time, well, maybe he was trying to control the situation with his packing his own food
Mhm.
and not wanting to eat the Scotch egg and
Right.
any other option? No.
Or we're gonna have a picnic, but did anybody say who was making the food?
Well, she was in charge of everything.
But yeah, yeah. She was in charge of telling him what he needed to do, and she did not tell him he needed to provide food.
She did not.
And he assumed, it's picnic, there's food.
Yeah. Or I'm bringing what I wanna eat. Yes.
Yep. Have you ever looked up what a Scotch egg is? It's horrible. As far as it's like an egg that you wrap in bacon and then bread and deep fry or something like that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure I mean, I've heard of it, and I'm sure it's not something people normally would eat for lunch.
Yeah, but it's an interesting choice for a person who's trying to work on her marriage with someone who she knows would hate that food.
Yeah.
Unless she's trying to make a point or something, like she's trying to push him.
I think she was trying to push him out of his comfort zone. I mean, if you are invited to a party, do you bring your own food because you refuse to even try or sample any of the things?
So maybe you think this is like a little extension of her socialness or something?
Possibly. Possibly. Again, the chorizo, getting him to just try something that's out of his comfort zone.
I like that perspective because of the ending. Unless you take the time to look back at the whole season and kind of like we're doing here, a little more cerebrally than when you're just experiencing it, you don't know at the end that the whole crux of the thing will be Louisa saying, I think I've made a terrible mistake in thinking that everybody has to be normal.
Yes.
So you can now look back and say, like, I never had that thought that you had, which is the chorizo is just, it's what people bring back from Spain. I mean, it's a normal thing. Scotch egg is potentially a semi-normal thing to eat in England. I don't know how much people eat Scotch eggs, but they're certainly a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's a holiday thing or just something that is a fast food type of thing that is a little naughty to have, but every now and again. And she mentions in one of the episodes too, all you do is eat fish. Enjoy your fish. So that's probably a little bit of a, I have to say, my husband, who is very, very, very strong-willed and disciplined in his diet and exercise, sometimes when we go out to eat and he's like, I'm just going to have a salad, it ticks me off.
Okay.
I get it. I'm like, listen, we're throwing down. Come on.
Yeah, live a little.
We'll live a little.
Yeah.
So I can understand it.
Yeah, I think I would, given it's at home, and I get the sense from the way they portrayed the show that he does most of the cooking.
It seemed like it, yeah.
It
there were a
doesn't seem
couple
like
times-
it's a burden to her that he likes to eat fish. Like if he were making her make the fish separate for him all the time, I think
right.
that would annoy me more than if he just chose to cook his own fish.
Yeah, I guess. Although I don't think I would want to eat fish every day of the
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
And they did. They had pasta and,
I back when my husband had all sorts of cardiovascular things that started and continued, we dramatically changed our diet. And when he goes out of town, pot roast, pork chops. I make my Cornish pasties, my own Cornish pasties now. So those cannot be described as healthy, and so I'll make enough for me to have several meals with one left over at the end for him.
There you go. Yeah. So, but one is a health issue. One, is just him being very rigid.
And avoiding a health issue because, as a doctor, he's trying to be healthy.
In moderation, even a doctor will tell you every now and again it's okay.
Yeah, Martin's not a moderation guy. He's an extreme.
That wouldn't work.
What did you think of the whole, well, one other thing that I felt was interesting about the therapy was when Dr. Timoney suggests that they go on a date. And Martin's completely confused by, what do you mean about a date, right? But when she describes it, and I thought she was very kind in her description because she didn't, look down on him at all, or else she's like, Martin, it's not unusual for people when they're first trying to meet each other that they might go out for a meal. You mean at a restaurant? Yes. But he buys her flowers. He takes her to a significant restaurant and gets a significant table.
Yes. Yep.
Which I thought were excellent signs of a little romanticism.
Yep. And then he confronts her about what she said to Danny.
And then what happens? The phone rings. It's Danny, and she runs off with him.
Yes. Yep. Yep. But he went along and helped, so that was good. We didn't just say.
Right. Yeah, because a child was missing, so that's a crisis. So now we get to Annie and Jim Winton and their son Clemo, the people who kidnap him.
Kidnappers, yes. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, again, sometimes I laugh because some of these characters are nuttier than the next one.
Yeah. Yep. But Annie, I think they used Annie as a plot forwarder in the sense of when you really love someone, you will do anything.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And she even says that. She's like, I think she said it to Ruth or Penhale, when you love somebody, you'll do whatever. If they're dying, you'll do whatever. Right. Yes. I think that it was kind of a message in her behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. And she also had that respect for Martin and his medical expertise.
That he could fix anything.
He could fix anything, and his second opinion was all she needed. Please give it your best attempt, right? Yeah.
But she, completely ignored the recommendation by other doctors. So, but I guess, maybe she had a comfort level with Martin.
I have to give the script writers, I have to give them 2 thumbs up as always, because I think they do an excellent job. But the idea that there was only one diagnostic test and they didn't do the confirming test.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the whole time you're thinking, how can he figure something out that's not
That guy's
already
got cancer.
discovered, right?
Yes, that was definitely where you're like, well, maybe maybe he does have a shot at fixing this guy or doing something, and then, of course.
Yeah. Because even
What about
Martin, Martin that whole time did not look at the guy's medical records. He was just objecting to being kidnapped. Don't blame him, right? But then,
having a gun pointed at you?
yeah, and good old Ruth, man, she showed again. She grabbed that gun and she shot the chandelier like stay
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, and it was, pretty good of, Louisa to grab the penknife.
Yes, resourceful people, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Louisa noticing Martin's shoes and
Hmm.
knowing that lying.
And no one else wears shoes like that. Like sturdy man in a suit shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it seems so unrealistic, but I do think, yes, it was part of um, the writing and writing that in, and the craziness of doing whatever it took to save your loved one
Hmm.
was definitely a realization um, for both of them.
I thought it was good when Penhale makes some mention that he's trying to like establish rapport with them as kidnappers, and he says they're separated. And
Mhm.
I forget who says it to the other. I think Louisa says, "No, no, we're not." And then Martin tries to negotiate Louisa's release by saying he'll go with Annie to go find Jim, and Penhale will stay behind as the hostage, but they have to let Louisa
Yes,
go.
let Lisa go, yeah.
But then Louisa's like, I came here to get you and I'm not leaving here without you. So it's like, once again, these two have to be in a crisis to figure out that
Just
they
what
want to be together.
Yes. Yep, yep. And that was her doing whatever it took for her loved one, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Just like Annie.
And he was saying, let her go and I'll go with you.
And that was very chivalrous of him.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, just a little sidebar. This was a season that was full of fun names. I don't know if you caught many of them.
I definitely Alice Cooper,
Hmm.
the
Yep.
Leanne Perrins. Is that a reference to the Leanne Perrins steak sauce?
The Worcestershire sauce. Yep.
Sure, yeah, okay. And then
The others are a bit more obscure.
was Drew Peacock in this one?
Drew Peacock is in this one. Have a seat, Mr. Peacock, and then sorry about that, Drew, and you have to glue them together.
Yeah, yeah, that I didn't catch until you told me what episode to watch it in, or to go. Then I went back and I was
Yes.
like, ah, okay.
There's also, I'm not even sure if this was one, but there's somebody named Roland Burrow. And I wasn't sure if that was a play on roll and burrow, like something that an animal might do. I think I might be reaching on that one. There's Jermaine Mann, like your main man. And
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that one.
and you have to be British, I think, to understand Mr. Belland. But Belland, Bellend, Bellend. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Everybody else can Google.
All right.
I don't want to get myself in trouble with anything just in case it's not allowed.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
But similar in nature to the shape of Jeff Bezos's rockets.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
Do you think that they literally put that much thought into it?
Yes. From
You
what I
do?
understand, this could be a rumor. I wish I would keep track of what I learned from each little interview or background piece or snippet that I've seen. But I remember seeing something where I think the actress who played Morwenna would have a list, Jessica Ransom. I'm not sure if she created the list or if somebody gave it to her. Now that you have Acorn, it's possible that some of the behind the scenes stuff is available. And that's
Okay.
fun. That's fun to watch. Make sure you pick the right seasons of the behind the scenes stuff because they did it a lot more later in the series than they did early, and you don't want to
Yeah,
get
I
any.
haven't scrolled. I haven't scrolled down to past season, whatever the last season is.
Mhm.
See if there's any outtakes or
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah. And if not, I mean, like I said, I've got the DVDs. I tend to just have to hang on to them. Like I have to now watch 8, 9, and 10 And I don't have Acorn right now because I watched everything on it and had to cycle through my different streaming services. But
Yeah, yeah.
once that,
Well, I was lucky enough to get an Acorn subscription for Christmas.
I think
So,
that's a great idea.
woo, no more commercials, and it's so easy to go back and rewatch. Like I said, before Best Medicine, I watched season 1 again, episode 1, season 1
Hmm.
of Doc Martin. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting to
Yeah. Without having to fast forward through, or having to sit through.
go through the commercials, scroll through, stop, refresh my memory a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's way better.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why, I mean, you can't even get seasons 7 through 10 on the ad-driven services.
No,
Yeah.
no, but this is also why I'm binging and blowing through each season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, there's a ton of other stuff on Acorn that's good, so I can recommend some other things there.
Sounds good.
Yep. How long is your subscription for?
I don't know. I didn't notice on the gift if there was a time limit. So
Okay, cool. Nice.
yeah, that was a good one.
I am always happy to have you after each season, but I know you
Okay.
like to move forward too. So I am generally available. So if you finish 8 and you're like, Chesla, can we do 8 right now? Odds are good that within 24 hours I can do 8. And because people really do enjoy your reliving the show vicariously through you.
Okay, well that's great. I'm glad I'm providing fun entertainment.
You are. Thank you once again for making the time.
Absolutely. Good
Take
to
care.
talk to you. All right, bye-bye.
Podcast Portwenn is an independent fan production, not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by Buffalo Pictures, ITV, Fox, or the creators of Doc Martin or Best Medicine.